All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the April 8th, 2014 New York State Board of Real Estate Appraisers to order. If I can have everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll go through some housekeeping. I'll start, I guess. I'm Stephen Rufaro. I'm the Real Estate Appraisal Board Chairman.
Carol DeSanto, Vice Chair, who's Appraisal Board.
Don McGrath, board member, new board member.
Aisha Battle, Department of State.
Mark Mastrobuno, Department of State.
Dan Bernetto, Department of State.
Carol Fansler, Department of State.
Jacqueline Brissette, Department of State.
And Sharon Maida, Department of State.
Gideon Elliott, Empire State Development.
Ty Wilson, Executive Chamber.
Donna Zolla, Department of State.
Jody DeLallo, Department of State.
Pete Simon, Department of State.
Christian Klug, Blake, Board Member.
Christian, time to book. New York, if I can have you go introduce yourselves.
Eliezer Rodriguez, new board member.
Dave Mossberg, Department of State.
Jack Valello, Department of State.
Megan Salmieri, Department of State.
If I can ask you guys in New York, can you move the camera up? Because all we can see are our suit jackets and ties.
They're helpless.
Oh, sorry, it's a technical question I shouldn't have asked. Because I give you my way to touch it. There you go. Oh, perfect.
Well, almost.
Nice.
One more.
One more down. There you go. Now you're not the headless horseman. It's all right.
Oh.
All right, thank you, New York. And Buffalo, if you can introduce yourselves.
I'm Anthony Girasol, board member.
Carol Brewer, Department of State.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for traveling the distances to volunteer and to take part in our meetings. I would like to begin by introducing and welcoming two new board members. We have Don McGrath, who is replacing Matt Smith as the appraiser appointee by the Assembly. He is from Fishkill, and he is the president of the appraisal company, McGrath and Company. Don, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for your volunteering. And in New York City, we have Eliezer Rodriguez, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, as I usually do. He replaces Peter Gould as the public member appointed by the Senate. He is from Brooklyn and is a member of the Bronx, Manhattan, North Association of Realtors, and he is a licensed attorney in New York State also. Welcome, and thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Okay. We have gone through the roll. I have noted that we do have a quorum by the presence of our members from New York City and from Buffalo. I would ask for the approval of the October 25th, 2013 meeting summary notes that were attached in your packet, but also sent to you earlier in the month. Are there any questions or concerns about the meeting notes from October 25th, 2013? Okay, Carol DeSanto has first. Can I have a second motion? Christian has second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? So are moved the approval of the 2013 October 25th meeting notes. Okay, next on our agenda we have subcommittee and department reports. Under enforcement and update, I do not see Ernest in New York City, as I usually do.
He's there. Thanks.
Okay. Jackie, am I deferring to you for enforcement?
Actually, I'm the chief investigator, so I'm here to provide that information.
We lost them.
And we lost Oliver. They didn't like what you were about to say.
Yeah, I may not want to hear this.
What? No, enjoy.
You're back.
You guys are back?
Yes.
Can everybody hear us? Buffalo?
Yes.
Yes.
New York, can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay, we are just about to go over the enforcement update. If you guys can do that for us, please.
Sure. This is Jack Valello. I'm the chief investigator for Division of Licensing Services.
Thank you, John.
No, it's Jack.
I'm sorry, Jack.
That's okay.
It's not my hair, it's my hair.
Okay. Actually, here's Mr. Delaney as well. The update is that we currently have, we're investigating about 32 real estate appraiser complaints. We have some enforcement decisions to report. There has been some hearing determinations, 3 hearing determinations this year issued by administrative law judges, in which various licensees were subjected to disciplinary sanctions. We had one appraiser who was suspended for not completing his continuing education. We had another appraiser who had his license revoked for not completing his continuing education and for not cooperating with the department's investigation. And we also had another appraiser who was fined $1,000 in connection with a USPAP violation. And the department's also executed 8 consent orders with various real estate appraiser licensees, in which the appraisers had admitted to certain violations, and some paid fines as well. So that's the overall enforcement report for today.
Jack, are there any questions or comments?
Yes.
Jack, concerning the report. Carol, Santo?
Just out of the 32 new complaints, do we have any idea of how much of that were from the public or from lending institutions?
I think Megan Salmieri might be able to speak better on that. I think the majority of them are from lending institutions, right? Is that correct, Meg?
Yeah. Yes. Hi.
Okay.
Are there any questions or comments from Buffalo about the enforcement update?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in Albany? Questions for Jack? Okay. If I can have a motion to accept this report?
Motion to accept?
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. Jack, thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Next, under the subcommittee and department reports, the appraisal management company legislation that we've been diligently working on. I'll turn to Vice President Carol DeSanto for that update.
As you know, we've been working on this actually going almost 2 years. We have been waiting for the federal draft of minimum standards to come out before we did our final draft of legislation. And we have the subcommittee has reviewed that draft, and we are comparing it to our initial draft that we have with the legal department at the Department of State, and we're in the process of making sure that we are in compliance. The first look over looks like that our minimum standards have been met in most cases, but we want to we have a meeting set up later this month to go over with legal counsel this very issue.
Have all board members received the?
It is the
draft of.
Is the federal? It's multi. How do they word it? It's the multi-agency the draft joint agency rules for the minimum requirements for AMC. It's a 96 page document that should have gone out to all board members.
Did all the board members receive that from Carol?
I haven't received it yet.
Okay. Our new board members will make sure they receive that. I think that's something, I know it's a long document, and a lot of it is discussions with abbreviations and definitions, but I think if you go through that as we move forward with the AMC legislation, I think it'll give you a little bit of a foundation from where we're going. Just to kind of elaborate on what Carol and subcommittee member Becky Jones have done over the last 2 years, and really have been my ears and eyes on this. They've probably gone through 35 separate periodicals, 36 separate periodicals from other states, from other institutions, trying to tie this all in to one complete document. So I think if you take the time to read what Carol will forward to you, and then you start to read the drafts that are coming, I think it'll kind of tie the two together. Okay. Are there any questions from New York or comments about Carol's report? Okay, Anthony, you're our self-standing member in Buffalo. Any questions or comments at this time to Carol for her report?
No, I would just ask if you could send that report again. I can't find it. If you can send it again so I could look at it.
Yeah, there's going to be something else coming too, which I'm going to talk about under new business.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any questions or comments from our audience in Albany? Okay. Carol, thank you for the report. If I can have a motion to accept Carol's report.
So moved.
Second, Anthony, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Carol, for that in-depth report. All right, under regional advisors, I have Dave Mossberg. David, you're in New York City?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to give us an update on regional advisors?
Actually, no. I wasn't informed I'd be doing that. I was asked to provide background information on the regulatory changes under action items.
Okay.
Yeah, I was once again, this is Jack Bilal. I was asked to give some information about regional advisors as well.
Thank you, Jack. We're going to give you a start. We're going to give you a start award next time, Jack. So you know
actually, Senior Investigator Delaney can probably give you a lot more information. Bottom line is our outreach efforts have drastically increased. We're soliciting new regional advisors as we speak. The department put together a letter and sent it to certified real estate appraisers, licensed certified real estate appraisers, asking them if they're interested in applying to be a regional advisor, to review applications for new licensees and review complaints. We set some certain criteria in order for them to qualify. From speaking to Senior Investigator Delaney, I don't think we've had a lot of bites so far. I know the letters have been sent out, but I think so far, according to Mr. Delaney, we received 2 applications from interested certified appraisers who are interested in applying to be regional advisors.
Yeah, we've got maybe a total of 4 people who showed interest, and we're screening and reviewing them. And I would say out of those 4, 1 who have went through the whole process, completed all the paperwork, and we're now considering it. We would like to have more applicants, just to choose from, and also because we need them.
I know, Ernest, we received one here today, and I know I've gotten 3 or 4 phone calls in my office since the letters have gone out. So I think that there is some interest there. I have to say, as a board member that's been here for I don't know how long now, but I have to commend Ernest and now Jack for taking this responsibility, because I know at one point we really had no direction with obtaining new regional advisors, and I think you guys have done an admirable job with getting out the letter, with streamlining the process, and trying to get people on board so we have more responsible, more wide range variety of advisors. Carol, would you like to?
I've also had several phone calls for people that expressed interest, and just ask them to follow up with the application process. So I think that we'll see more applicants. Really appreciate your efforts to try to expand the regional advisor role, much needed role in the state of New York. So thank you.
Well, I know that Ernest has done an admirable job just trying to get the fee, the daily fee or the case fee increased with staff members here in Albany over the last 5 or 6 years. Ernest, do we have a dollar number? Do we have a dollar number increase on the regional advisors, the daily or case fee, where it was from where it is?
Yes, we have increased the payment for their services. We now pay them a flat fee of $600 per case. So if we have a complaint and they do a review, there's a flat fee of $600. That would include, if they need to testify at a hearing also. So that's all included. It's sort of like one package.
Which is a much more attractive fee, for lack of a better term, than what we had previously. Okay, are there any
Steve?
questions? Yes.
Steve, I have a couple questions.
Okay, Anthony. Sure.
I've had calls from two people. The first one was kind of unusual, and I didn't really know what to say to him, so I wanted to ask to see what you thought. This gentleman was a regional advisor, and I guess somebody filed a complaint about him, so he was sanctioned and paid a fine, and then he was removed from the list, and he'd like to get back on the list. Is there a policy about how to handle that?
Ernest, Jack?
Well, I think it's taken into consideration if there was disciplinary action against the applicant. I think that's factored into the decision-making process. Is that right, Ernest?
Yes. We want typically for our hearings that the RA be able to testify as an expert and not be challenged.
I don't believe they're barred from applying. I think it's just that whatever disciplinary action was taken against them previously might be taken into consideration when reviewing their application.
So would they automatically be taken off the list if they had a disciplinary action?
Do you know, Ernest? Because I'm not familiar with that.
I believe it'll be a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
I don't know if he's being reviewed, if his situation is being reviewed. I believe.
Is the person that you're referring to, did he submit his application already? Was it in the hopper or something?
I believe he's already an RA who was then went to a hearing.
He was revoked or suspended?
No, it was
the
consent.
individual.
No, it was not a
It was
revocation.
consent order.
Consent order. Anthony, was the individual that you're speaking of, did he make application to become a regional advisor again?
I don't know if he did it again. He wants to, and I told him he should, but I didn't know if he was automatically disqualified, and I told him I would find out, or try to find out for him.
All right, well, I'm looking at the generic letter here for the applicants. It doesn't say, it doesn't have that type of terminology about, if you have a previous disciplinary action, you're disqualified. I think Ernest is right. I think it would be a case-by-case basis.
So Anthony, why don't, to try to move it forward a little bit, since it's really not a board decision, can you forward the individual's name to Ernest, and then Ernest, you could look into the situation, and whatever protocol for communication is of reason, we can go about that way?
Yes.
Okay. Would that be okay?
Yes.
I'll do that. I had another question.
Sure.
Oh, I had another question also. I was contacted by a local state employee. He works for the DOT, and he would like to apply to be a regional advisor. And he wasn't sure if he would have a conflict because he was a state employee. And should he apply, or is it another case-by-case thing?
I think that might be HR, Human Resources Department's call, right?
I went.
Yeah, I don't think we would.
I mean, we have Bugatti. He's a cop. Uniform.
And I think that what they're saying is it's more of a human resource question to the regional human resource person. Are you referring to the individual in Binghamton?
No, he's here in Buffalo, and he's been an appraiser for a long time. He's well qualified, but he didn't want to go through the process if he was going to get denied because of his employment.
Well, I think it's an issue. We can reach out to our HR department and find out if there's any conflict on our end. I mean, we can't speak for DOT, of course, but we'd be able to provide some information to you regarding whether or not there's a conflict with our Human Resources Department, if that helps.
Okay. All right. I'll forward both of those names to Ernest, and then I'll tell them to apply or contact. Can they contact you? Is that okay?
Yes, please.
I'll tell them to contact you, and then obviously it's up to you what you decide, but then they can find out for sure what they can
Right,
do.
well, I mean, in this essence, I mean, Ernest is the person to go to check the regulations, then based on the regulations is how Ernest would determine his decision, or the department would determine their decision.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'll do that. Thank you.
Very good. You're
I
welcome.
have another question, based really off from Anthony's question. That was, a potential question with the state employee. The question has also come up with if there's a business relationship between a potential regional advisor and a board member. Would that be considered a conflict of interest? If there's a partner in a firm or an appraiser in a firm that there may be a sitting board member on, is that a conflict?
Yes, that's true.
You're right. I would encourage those people to also apply. I would have to look into it, but I don't see on what I've heard so far why they shouldn't apply, and I'm not aware of any conflict that would prevent them on just simply based on that relationship.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we're clear on the board.
I have a question for Jack. Jack, when the letter was sent out, was that just sent out, basically to everybody?
My understanding
Everyone
was
who was certified.
it was sent out to certified real estate appraisers, which is a big candidate pool. I'm sorry?
Well, but basically, I received one. I assume everyone got it.
I received one.
Yeah.
So it was both residentially certified and generally certified, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
So, so how many people is that roughly that are certified or board members? I guess the reason I'm asking is if we're getting 4 applicants out of a couple thousand letters, that's a pretty low rate of return.
Well,
so what's the purpose that people aren't applying? And my guess is it's just a lot of work.
Oh, well, yeah, that's just the point. In terms of percentages, obviously, it's a very small number. That's why I think you were all saying that you might have had some people that were inquiring about it. We would definitely encourage them to send their application to the person on that letter, so we can start reviewing the applications.
I guess I'm just wondering if we could pinpoint why only 4 people out of 3,900, I think is the number. Why only 4 people? What's holding people back? And my guess is that it's a lot of work to apply.
And I think we're looking for an additional to our existing list, right?
Correct.
Are we recertifying our? So we're looking to. So of the 3,900, we might have a few hundred that are they're already on the list. So we're looking for additional to our existing list. Is that correct? Are we renewing our existing list?
Our list of regional advisors?
Correct. I mean, we're not deleting the advisors that are already cleared, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. We wish to add to the names.
Do we have an idea of the number of regional advisors that we already have?
In your folder. On the board list, there's a list of appraisers.
We have approximately 24 names on the list.
No, that's good.
All right, Ernest, I apologize. The list is in my packet. If I turn the page, I would have saw it.
Okay, so I guess, can I?
Applications.
Jack,
Sure, if there's some up there that haven't made it to Ernest.
Jack?
Yes.
Would it be appropriate then as a board member for us to, if every certified and general got the letter, would it be appropriate for us as board members to personally go to anyone who we know is certified and general, say, hey, you got that letter, we didn't get many applicants, I think you'd be good for this, you should send in the application, because me saying it personally is probably going to get a much better response than just a form letter that comes in the mail. Is that appropriate? Should we do?
I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, it's just basically you're reminding them of the same letter that we already mailed to them. There certainly doesn't sound like any problem with that. Like I said, we can certainly use more regional advisors, so we'd be definitely interested in those applications.
Okay, I'll pass it along.
Any other questions? Again, I have to commend Jack and Ernest. It's quite the endeavor to get involved, and I know Ernest has been doing it for a long period of time, so difficult when we get through it. All right, are there any other questions? Can I have a motion to accept Jack's report? Awesome. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. Okay. Moving on to regulations under action item, regulation changes. Dave, I think I'm calling on you now.
Yes.
Thank you.
This one I'm prepared for. The other one you caught me unsurprised. So Whitney Clark asked that I fill in for her today on an issue that she would, I guess, normally present to the board. The Department of State has been part of a recent governor's initiative to streamline sort of the processes that various state agencies use to make it more efficient for both the agency as well as members of public that deal with the agency. The initiative is actually called the LEAN process that Whitney Clark has been instrumental in sort of implementing and applying to the Department of State. And in applying the lean thinking to the Department of State, one area that was discovered to have sort of inefficient procedures was the reviews of the applications for appraisers. And so in looking at the process, it was sort of discovered that there's approximately a 90% rejection rate for real estate appraiser applicants. On average, a single application is going to be rejected twice before it's approved or it's moved on. That the rejections, each rejection adds approximately 30 days additional time to the applicant, and that in terms of staff time, because of the complexity with respect to the application and what the current standards require, staff is spending anywhere from 45 to an hour on each individual application. With respect to the actual processes, there are people in Albany there. If anyone has any questions about the actual process, that they can explain. But in reviewing the current regulatory standards and keeping in mind sort of the LEAN initiative, the department has determined that regulatory changes are appropriate and should probably move forward. And so it's my understanding that the board members have received what's known as the regulatory impact statement, as well as a copy of the proposed regulatory revisions. The revisions relate to two different sections of Title 19. First is 1102.2 subdivisions A, B, and C. What we discovered is that the current requirements that have been promulgated by the department actually exceed the federal AQB standards. What's currently on the books is not what's currently under the AQB, but also what currently is in the book adds this additional time to review the applicants. These current standards contribute to the 90% rejection rate. These current standards contribute to the extra delays and processing times. And so the department has proposed the revisions to eliminate some of these extraneous requirements. So, for example, to remove the requirement that for the licensed appraiser that 75% of experience be residential experience be removed, that for certified residential, again, that the certified or that the 75% experience be residential removed, and that 80% of the residential be in single family category, 10% experience in each of the remaining categories be removed. For certified general, We are proposing to remove the 75% experience, and that 60% of the general experience be in one of the general categories, 20% of the general experience in each remaining. With respect to certified general, there is a caveat that there's going to be an addition to that subdivision in that, to be consistent with the AQB standards, they're going to add that of the 3,000 hours, a minimum of 1,500 hours must be in non-appraisal or non-residential appraisal work. That appears to be something straight from the AQBs. So again, it's an attempt to streamline the process, make it more efficient, and also to comply with the federal standards. The last sort of real provision or primary provision of the proposed revisions are to remove the quarterly hour periods of the experience requirements. Again, that's not something that's part of the AQBs, and it adds to the processing time in that staff now has to figure out where these hours are, being counted towards and where they're applied to. And then the only other revision would be in addition, again, following AQB, that based on the time of experience is going to be based on the actual time spent on the appraisal assignment up to the maximum amount of hours that are provided. So that's sort of an overview of the regulatory proposals that would need board approval before they move on, and sort of the justification. But again, if anyone has specific questions about the processes, I think Jacqueline or Ann up in Albany might be able to answer those questions.
We'll start in Albany. Are there any questions about the suggested changes under the regulation changes that David has pointed out, board members? Questions from any board members in New York or Buffalo concerning the regulatory changes?
No.
I do have a question. Just a point of clarification of upgrading from a licensed residential to a licensed general. Does that mean they must start those experience credits from scratch to upgrade that license to the 3,000, and it now with the new regulations? So even if they already have the certified residential license, they still can do a minimum of they can still do 1,500 of their hours in residential, but they already have that license. Does that mean that they cannot use previous license experience credit? Or,
you're asking about the addition to subdivision C? I'm not sure I follow your question.
It's a general question. If someone is already a certified residential appraiser and they are applying to become a certified general appraiser, and 50% of their hours of experience can be in residential, and 50% can be in the commercial aspect, in order to be granted that general license, can they use previous experience credits from prior years, or do they have to start their log from scratch?
Well, there's still the current provision that it be not over a period of less than 30 months. So, provided that the experience satisfies
over years.
I mean, if it satisfies the current standard, which isn't being changed, then the answer is yes. The only thing that's being changed is that with respect to the upgrade to the general certification, it's that of the 3,000 hours, the applicant now has to sort of delineate that 1,500 are from non-residential work. That's the only change.
So the time frame is the same.
The time frame remains the same.
Are there any other questions from Buffalo? Any questions, Anthony, on the regulatory changes?
No.
Okay. New York, any questions on the regulatory changes? Any other questions from the board members in Albany? Okay, can I have a motion, please then, to accept the regulation changes as David has clarified?
Motion to accept.
Second? All in favor? Aye. So carried. David, thank you for all your explanation and research.
No problem.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item of new business. We have appraiser's assistance, which seems to be something that we don't have clarification on.
Jody Delalo, good morning.
Good morning, Jody.
Okay, so one of the changes, the criteria changes for 2015 is that an appraiser applicant has to complete education and experience prior to being able to take the national exam. So currently, we have appraiser assistants out there who are eligible to take the exam based on education alone. So if they don't take that exam prior to January 1st, their admission notice is no longer valid until they show proof of their experience. So we're notifying them, we're sending those applicants or those appraiser assistants a letter explaining that to them so they can plan accordingly. Their exam results will still be valid for 24 months, but they will no longer be eligible if they don't take the exam prior to 2015, prior to the criteria change.
Any questions on that or comments? I don't think that needs, that doesn't need to go back. The action item?
It's all very regular.
Sorry, right. Okay. I have one thing under new business which I didn't get to Carol prior to the meeting. We've been working on appraisal management company legislation for the last few years. We also have been reviewing and making some changes to the original draft on mandatory licensing that's dated December 2009. I think what I'm going to have Carol do is, to new board members and existing board members, I'm going to have Carol forward to you a copy of that draft, along with the draft that was sent out for the appraisal management company items that we got in the last set. And I keep deferring to that. The federal draft on AMC, on minimum standards for AMC, you'll be getting. But along with that, you'll be getting a draft of the legislation that was submitted in December of 2009. So what I'm asking all board members to do, both new and existing, is to review that. If you have questions or comments on that draft, I'd like to see them at the next meeting, because that's the next item we'll be taking up. And I think it's going to be a little easier for us to start making changes to that draft if we have comments and concerns from all board members. Right? So within the next month, you'll be getting the federal minimum AMC draft, and you'll be getting a legislative draft that was crafted in December of 2009. What I ask you to do is to digest the legislation. It's not long, and write down comments and concerns that you have, because we're going to start taking those in consideration as we move forward. Because I will give you a highlight, and this comes from my own perspective. I think we need to get more people in the mix on the next subcommittee when it comes to mandatory licensing, because it's a larger, more impact piece of legislation. So I think starting now, moving forward, if we can take the comments and concerns of board members, take those, kind of consolidate them into maybe a bullet point discussion, then we can start it from there. Right? Are there any questions or concerns from anyone based on what I've just said? So all new board members that they told you weren't going to do anything, we lied to you just to suck you in. We're just going to ask for a little input going forward on this, because it is an important draft that we'll be working on over the next few years. Okay. Is that the fire drill?
That's us. In New York.
You guys have, okay.
We had that happen one other one.
Yeah, okay, so if there are no comments and questions on that, I would move to the public comment section. Is there anybody in New York, because you guys are getting a fire drill, that is there in the capacity of a public member that has a comment? No? Okay. Buffalo, I don't see anybody, but I'll ask, is there anybody that has a public comment at this point?
No, there's nobody from the public here.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in Albany in a public capacity who'd like to make a comment?
I'm good.
Becky Jones says she's good. All right. That being said, before we adjourn the meeting, I'm sure Carol will be sending out possibility of dates for the next meeting. Carol? Carol's shaking her head.
Sure.
Reynolds, her head says yes. All right. Again, I would like to welcome all new board members. Please, if you have any suggestions or concerns or comments, please let us know. We're open. We're a moving board, I like to say. We're not stationary in one position. As things change, we'd like to respond. And again, I would like to thank everybody for their time and their travels and their expertise. I'm sorry, we have somebody at the end of the table.
So I don't want to make a comment in a public capacity, but my name is Misha Lawrence. I work for the Department of State. I led the Lean Initiative for our appraisal unit. And I would like to say that we are extremely happy and excited that you guys have agreed to propose regulation change. This will make a significant impact on the department in terms of our processing. And we just appreciate the board's openness and willingness to accept, recommendations from the department, and just know that this makes a huge impact on our staff. We have Jacqueline and Ann who were here, who worked immensely on this project and really helped to, make this go forward. And so I just wanted to thank them and recognize them publicly.
I think before we adjourn, and I think this kind of comes half-heartedly because Carol made a comment earlier that you don't get a lot of love for all the work that you guys do, but I mean, I think I speak for the board as a whole, and I've said this before, is that the staff at Albany does a tremendous job with getting answers and moving things forward. And in New York, I'm sorry, in New York and Buffalo.
We're very lucky.
We're very lucky to have experts in the field working for the government, and we appreciate everything you guys do. Okay, so that being said, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Anthony Jarosol, second. Carol, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a good spring. Hopefully we're